Anyhow, we'll get it started. My name's Lee Spieker. I'm been with Nashville Score for the past 5 years. Moved here from Colorado 7 years ago. I've launched over a dozen companies from scratch. Um, all of them, except for one, were really fairly successful. I've been in the product business. I've gone to a health club or personal training center or a physical education class in any school in America, many in the world, you'll find something that I created. Did a videotape, some of the older members may remember the Buns of Steel. I sold 35 million of those. Created the first aerobic floor for fitness, owned a couple of health clubs. Started an exercise equipment store, grew into a chain of 9, sold that. First step aerobic step in the country. So I've got a little background in starting things, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons they have me. And I feel comfortable in running it. Am I ready to start a business workshop? Because I've started a bunch of them. So I've got a little background in what to do and what not to do. In many cases, what not to do is more important than what to do. So anyhow, we will get this started. We've got a PowerPoint that that was created by Score, and we'll run through that for about an hour and a half. If you've got any questions while we're going through this thing, feel free to raise your hand or just write them down, save them, and I will stick around as long as somebody's got a question as we get at the end of this thing. And we've been able to, in many cases, I've been able to stick around for a couple of hours and just chat with people who've got questions. I'm happy to do it. And I think Sydney, we just got you in here. I think I've got everybody.
Hello.
Yes. Say, okay, so you're there. Everybody's on. We will just, mute your phones, your things while we're in the middle of this. I'll bring up this. Well, I think I've just got another one. I think I got everybody. Well, it's hard to tell from this standpoint. But yeah, let me get the PowerPoint up here and we'll get started. And start slideshow. Right there. Okay. Anyhow, it is, am I ready to start a business? And let me say, mute the microphone unless you're got something to ask or a question. Feel free to do so if you do. And we will get started with that. First, a little bit about this, what we're doing here. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors. We're all volunteers. With more than 10,000 volunteers and 300 chapters around the United States, we're a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business, the SBA. SCORE's helped over 10 million entrepreneurs through mentoring workshops and educational resources over the past, well, since 1964. Nashville, our chapter here in Nashville, which just won the Southeastern Award for most workshops presented for the 2004, and we're well ahead. Look at, we're going to get it this year again too. There's over 60 volunteers just in the Nashville workshop chapter. We provide mentoring, counseling, workshops, special events. There's a SCORE business show on Circle TV. The website's score.org/Nashville. And I'll send this a couple of times. I think this is really important. That the resource guide on that website is some of the most complete and unbiased educational materials you'll find anywhere. The videos, the templates, and everything that's in there, there is no spin. It was all curated by professionals and it's not designed to drive, direct you to any one particular purchase of a product or any one direction in terms of a philosophy. It's all just general business information. And I strongly, if you choose to continue this journey and start a business, to really take advantage of this, because this stuff is extraordinary. This stuff wasn't about just, you couldn't get this stuff 50 years ago when I started my first company. And boy, yeah, you can only imagine what it could have been like if I had access to this kind of content. But on that website, this is where you would request a mentor should you choose to. This is where you could sign up and find and sign up for our workshops. And we do lots of workshops. As you're now on our email list, you'll start getting those and notices and things that we're doing. I think there's one coming up on AI right now. There's another one coming up on social media. So lots of content, lots of really good educational materials, resource materials. There's guides. There's a free template for a business plan. There's also a downloadable template that you could create for your financial projections. So there's a pitch deck templates. There's a lot of content in there. Do take advantage of it. Mentor is assigned for the life of the business. Typically, we consider ourselves to be generalists. I've worn just about every hat there is in business, from intellectual property, legal, buying companies, selling companies, investing in companies, staging companies, B2C, B2B, internet. My first website was put up in 1999 for the cost of $400,000. That's what they cost in 1999. And they were, you can get one now on GoDaddy for $9 a month that does 10 times what that one did. But things have changed a bit. So as a generalist, we can work with a wide range of business ideas and needs. But if we have a specific need in a very specific category, we can search the nation for other mentors, or what we call subject matter experts, who are also volunteers but just come in like legal. We have a lawyer who will come in and answer a couple of legal questions should we have one, and we can bring them in and do as a co-mentoring. There's never any charge for a client. We do regularly scheduled workshops, like I said. Maybe the next one, if you decide to start a business, the next one may be how to start a business. If you do choose to start a business, I highly recommend the Build Your Business Model Plan and Strategy. This is something that is just extraordinary. It's a 3-hour workshops, $25 on a Saturday. We do it once a month. The guy who's been doing it has been doing it for about 12 years, but it incorporates all the aspects of business, all the way from your partners to your customer breakdowns and who your ideal customer is, your unique sales propositions. It takes everything in business, breaks it down on a one-on-one basis, and how they engage with each other. And you really start a business, highly recommend you have a very deep understanding of every one of these elements. It'll definitely help you and improve your chances of success. Also, a thing I would say, if you were to start a business, the fact that you're taking this workshop illustrates to me that you're of the mindset that you don't know everything. And I have invested in people who thought they knew everything, and I come to find out that they knew very little. The objective, acknowledging the fact that you need education, that you're interested in learning things, really elevates your chance of succeeding considerably of those who just think, hey, this can't be that hard. It can be that hard. So other resources for veterans, we do workshops on how to lease commercial space in Tennessee, legal issues, email marketing. We got free resources. Last night we had a live event at Belmont University. We were there for 5 hours. There's about 20 of us talking with about 50 entrepreneurs. And we do this about once every quarter, and we call it just Score Live. We know how franchises, if you're getting to a franchise, into specific forums, and that's all on the website or in your email as you're now signed up for us. Today, in the topics we're going to get into is the motivation. What is the typical motivation of an entrepreneur? What drives somebody to actually go out and start a business? Running through a self-inventory of entrepreneurial traits. What is it typically that an entrepreneur has that somebody other successful entrepreneurs have that you may not find in other individuals, or things that you can identify things where you have these traits, but maybe they need to be strengthened. And that's one thing humans can do, make a conscious decision to get better at something. And that's always something that we could do if you're have maybe you're not that skilled in one particular element of business operations. You can go out and figure out how to do it. You can learn how to be better. Get into business planning elements, resource evaluation, other business considerations, get through a summary, and then we'll jump into next steps. Now we've got, there's about a couple of us, a few too many of us to get in and actually run through this 3-minute thing. To like to stick around. Anybody who wants to stick around at the end of it, I'd love to hear what you're looking to do, and maybe draw some comparisons or some parallels to what I've done. But in order to get through an hour and a half, we get everybody. And I think we've got about 12 people involved today, and this could take up a little bit more time than we have. So we'll jump right into it. One of the most common motivations to start a business, and a few thoughts about each of those. All right, the number one is, and we're getting a lot of this. I think we've had over 200 people sign up for mentors already this month, and they need a job. Maybe you've been laid off, decided to leave the existing employment, or have been unemployed for a while. They need benefits and long-term financial security. One thing about starting your own business, it's not the fastest way to a steady paycheck. As a rule, it'll take time. There are exceptions to that rule, that all of a sudden you'll start something, it'll go viral, you'll get more business you can handle. So it's one of these classic stories of be careful what you wish for, you just may get it. So I know personally people who have gone broke with too much business. If it takes off too quickly and you can't catch up, buying public tends to have a pretty short detention span. And all of a sudden you uncover some drastic need or a fix for a pain. There's lots of people out there that are ready to jump in right behind you if you can't follow through with that. So there's a real value in structuring whatever you create to grow on a steady basis. And that's the fastest way, steady paycheck. It does take time to build a business. Health considerations, need for benefits. One thing about owning your own company is you will be responsible to go get your own health care. And your benefits, you don't get paid vacations. You're paying yourself. So if you go on vacation and you pay yourself, you get paid vacation. But that doesn't come with starting your own company. So if you need these things, it's got to be factored into whether or not it makes sense for you to start a business. What if you don't like to work? Boy, this is the big one. And I have run into this more often than not. People think, it can't be that hard. And I don't like to work. I want to take all my weekends off. If I want to take off at noon and, go fishing or shopping, that is not something typically successful business people do. If you don't like to work, perhaps starting your own company is not the right decision. We'll get into buying or creating the job. So you actually buy an existing job or create one first for yourself versus actually going out there and getting a job. Most motivations, and this is kind of the primary one that most entrepreneurs that I've run into, and myself included, have gotten to. They have an idea or you see an opportunity. Maybe some of you said, I've always wanted to be a baker. I've always wanted to be in transportation. I've always wanted to be in medical services. This is a motivation, and this is one thing that drives people into something they do. This goes to something that has been a common phrase that's thrown around a lot, and particularly in college. And college people will say, "Hey, if you want to be go get a job, is find a job that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life." Well, I'm of the other feelings on that particular. My experience is go do something that you're good at, make a bunch of money, and then go do something you love. Because not only there's a lot of people who just love being in Nashville. A lot of people love music. Not everybody makes a lot of money at it. So go do something you're really good at, make a bunch of money, and then go do something you love. It gives you the flexibility there. People take a hobby or avocation. I'm working with people who bake cookies and they want to turn it into a business. Other people who refurbish old travel trailers and want to turn it into a resort. So hobbies and avocations are a great way to take those because you got experience, you got passion for it, turn that into a business. Trade or skills. If you've got you're in a trade or you've got experience in a particular area and you want to turn that into your own business, that's another thing you've got access to. And give me just a second. I've got a bunch of people I think have just signed in. Let me get everybody. I think that's everybody. Back to sharing. Screen sharing. Sorry about this, folks. One thing about being supposed to just have somebody to do this for me. I've never had to do this before. Stop the sharing. Start this all over again. We'll get there.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, Candace.
All right, perfect. I'm sorry, did you ask me a question?
No, I guess I'm kind of talking to myself here. I'm trying to figure out how to get this my PowerPoint back up.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate that. Is you confirmed that people can hear me, and let me get back to this one. Find my slide here. Okay. So traders skill and learn from a prior experience. This is another way that people transition from what they're doing now into creating their own enterprise. One of the things you want to be able to do is to be able to take that idea and properly test it, come up with what's called a proof of concept. Will your idea actually be a viable business? And we'll get into a little bit of that later. Um, Personal satisfaction can be really high. Start your own company and be successful and start making money. It can be very gratifying. But in reality, and you can start your own business, put a ton of time and money into it, and it doesn't make it. So the personal satisfaction can also be very low. The fact that you're taking workshops and you're open to actually learning stuff gives me the in my mind, it elevates you beyond the average and gives you a much greater chance of success by maintaining that desire to go out and learn. Because one thing about starting a business is a skill. You can go to school and you get a doctorate degree in business administration. So it's a skill. It can be learned. And if those people, the most successful people I've ever met in business at every level, have taken their business and they said, this is something you constantly learn. I've never done anything, started a company, no matter what stage it is, everything can be done better. Maintaining that attitude gives you the ability to go out there and pivot when things change. Basically, I've spent my life in the exercise and the fitness business, sports business. But it's during the pandemic, all the people who were engaged, doing it, always looking for a better way to do it, transitioned to online. They succeeded. 25% of our industry closed during the pandemic. 75% went out and boom, they changed it because they're always thinking, always on top of things, always learning about what's the next thing to do. And they were able to take their entire business online and survive. And after the pandemic, actually thrive. So passion translates into sales and service. This is something that even in today, it's even more important today because we're in more of a an influencer-based society. There's a lot of your potential customers are waiting to be told what to do, where to go, what to think, and what to buy. Your passion can translate into sales and service. Your passion in what you do and how you do it can translate into credibility and authority. And people are looking to work with people who are credible and have authority in what it is they're doing, because you could tell by their passion that they know what they're doing. And then the ability to follow through on details is kind of just one of the skill sets. Family history is another thing that people can find in future plans. So many people start a business because they have a family business background in the field. You worked in your parents' furniture store your whole life. You want to go out and start your own furniture store. That's one way. That's that transition that happens a lot. You have a desire to involve family members or friends in your business. You want to start up a company to bring in family and friends. That can be tricky. It can be handled if you treat it like a business. I've brought family and friends into enterprises that I've founded. But in each one, we sat down with lawyers, we signed contracts, we did buy-sell agreements. What happens if it works? What happens if it doesn't work? How do you get out? How do you get in? How do you cash out? Really going through the processes of turn it into a business operation. You can get family members and friends in there, is one of the things you don't want to have happen. If it's a relationship, and relationships can go bad, and relationships that are based on money can go bad, really bad. You can minimize that kind of distress by just really getting around. That's something a mentor can really help you with, is work your way through bringing partners, friends, and family members into your business. Having a succession plan for the next generation. This is something a lot of people want to build a business and start creating some generational equity, something that they could pass on to their kids. That's not always smooth, but if that is what you want to do, a very good idea is just build that into your business plan and start creating a enterprise and a structure that can be transferred. Because and I've done this too. All of a sudden, I want to sell the company. 5 years later, I have to go back 5 years and start recreating everything to get the best vision of what it is I'm trying to sell. So now every business I've had for the past 40 years has got a workbook. Here's where it started. Here's what we did. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. Have a business plan that you pull out every 3 months and go over, pivot, change, modify, and improve. So having a succession plan is not always smooth, but you can make it much smoother than it should that be your intent. You want to make sure that your business model provides long-term economic security for others if you bring other people in. And that's really a deep dive into financial projections, gathering the data, doing a business financial projections on how much money can you actually generate through your business model, through your product, your service, your margins, and your market access. Can it support 3 people, 5 people? Can it support 1 people? That's all based on, and those are the kind of things you can really create and get. I drill down to get real good information and confirmation by really paying a lot of attention to your financial projections. A lot of people get into business because they want to be their own boss and control your own destiny. Those are 2 good things, but typically they sound good at first, but you need to be realistic, because the owner does whatever needs to be done. And I had a manufacturing company. My first one, I did boxing equipment for amateur and professional fighters. During the 90s, the American Olympic team came back with 9 gold medals. Boxing went crazy. I went from 1 factory to 3 factories in a matter of 18 months, went from 30 employees to 200 employees, and I'm 25 years old with a bleeding ulcer. It's you do whatever needs to be done. If truck needs to be unloaded on Sunday, owner goes and does it. This is even more important or more relevant today, based on what we're doing in remote work, working off of websites, selling things that you can, no matter where you are in the world, you are still connected to your business. I spent 3 weeks in Africa last year, and every morning I got up and went on my site and talked to customers and handled problems, processed orders, cashed checks. No matter where you are, because your customers are always out there. So understanding that the owner is always there. So being your own boss, you are the one, the buck stops with you. You look in the mirror, that's the issue. That's the person who's responsible for everything, which requires discipline and commitment, because you're never far away from work issues, like we just said. Your owner compensation, how much money you make, depends on your cash flow. Many businesses become cyclical, or a lot of businesses will make half of all their money during the last quarter of every year during the holiday season. The other three quarters could be just break evens. So having the cash flow, your money as an independent, as a business owner, will come out of your free cash. And there may not be anybody to exchange ideas with. That's one of the nice things about having mentors, is you can call and just talk through issues, throw out ideas. I strongly recommend anybody getting into business not just to rely on SCORE as a mentor, but if you're going to get into, like I had one of my clients was getting into wanting to bake cookies. I says, why don't you call people in Atlanta, Portland, Omaha, Philadelphia, Phoenix, find people who make cookies and call them and say, hey, I'm going to do what you do. Can I ask you some questions? I've done this over the years, and I found it. Most people are really open to helping and connecting. Create your own little network, your own little like meetup group or Facebook group of 8 to 10 people that do exactly what you do. You're not competing with each other. You just may have the startup of a buying group, and sharing ideas and sharing expenses, creating advertising. There's all kinds of things. So if you start your business, I strongly recommend, it's a great idea. Call people that aren't going to compete with you in other parts of the country. Is, hey, I'm going to do what you do. Do you mind asking me, answering some questions? If they say, no, I don't do that, never walk away from a no without saying, could you refer me to somebody who would? And more often than not, say, oh yeah, talk to these people. They love doing that kind of stuff. Even in sales, somebody says no, say, well, I appreciate your time. Do you know somebody who would be interested? Never walk away from a no without asking for a referral. Then really, who is your boss? The most valuable thing in any small enterprise is your customers. If someone's going to buy your company, whatever it is, at some point in time, they want to buy your customers. That's what they're really interested in. When Tupperware sold, the people who bought Tupperware, they didn't want Tupperware. I don't even think they make it anymore. They wanted Tupperware customers, so they could start selling their stuff to Tupperware customers. So if that's your most valuable asset, what do you do with your most valuable asset? You treat them really, really well. I think anybody who's actually interacted with any business, whether it be a fast food store, a grocery store, a plumber, car dealer, whatever, you know what I'm talking about here. You get treated really well. They go above and beyond. They take that experience that you had with buying from them, and it becomes experiential, special, it's unique. You remember those people. You get tied in. That's who you go back to. Treating your customers like they are the most important things on earth, which they are, is vital, absolutely vital. Asking them how you did, what was their experience. Don't send them a thing that rate me from 1 to 5. Geez, call them. I call everybody who buys from me. Says, how did I do? What do you like about it? Could I have done it better? And creating relationships is huge, particularly today. Now, if you have employees, who actually interfaces with your employees or your customers, it's your employees. You treat your employees poorly, they will treat your customers poorly. I have to believe everybody's had this experience at some point in time. I've owned health clubs. You get your health club employees, and if they treat your members poorly, they will tell their friends, and then they will leave because it's a competitive world out there unless you got something that only you can provide. So treating employees, I've never, it's a personal thing of mine, I've never paid anybody minimum wage. Never. If you can't, meet, or if you can't beat everybody else's thing out there, because it's important. Employees build relationships. People, happy employees will bring customers to you. So it's really important. If you have to go, if you're looking to borrow money or create partnerships, taking care of those people, I've always treated my investors, they get paid before I ever get paid. And the reason for that is because if I have to go back to them, it's much easier to, if they know they're being treated well and they're respected and the money that they've given you is respected, the chances are the word will get around. You'll be able to go back to the well multiple times, and people are more open to helping you out if you treat your investors and partners well. So one of the things about starting your own company is the intent is to, can you increase your return on investment, your ROI? So you can take any capital you have. If you got 10,000 bucks right now, you can invest that capital in a business for higher returns, or you could take it and put it in a bank, or some kind of a traditional investment instrument and make 3, 5, maybe 7%. So taking your capital and putting it into business, you expect a higher return. That's the objective, because it has risk. So to be able to analyze the potential return on your investment and your business valuation really is a byproduct of really focusing on that financial projection sheets. How many customers do you need to have? How much you need to sell? What are your costs of your goods sold? What is your overhead? How much gross margin versus pre-tax net profits? And so those things all come out in that financial statement to analyze what is the return on the investment. You put 10 grand into this thing, you want to get something better than an 8% return. Then you want to be able to determine what's the time required to return that original investment. Too many people discount the startup capital and the time that they invest. You can spend 100 hours doing the research, building the plans to launch this business. They put no value on your time. Your time is valuable. So say my time's worth 50 bucks an hour, put 100 bucks, add that money to your startup capital thing, your numbers, to figure out how long is it going to take me to get my original money back, and then to actually start making a profit, which is thinking like an investor. That's risk versus reward, because no matter what, starting a business can be risky. Not all businesses succeed. So you want to make sure that risk is justified versus the potential reward or your expected payouts. What if your investment is not recovered? This is a reality. And everybody who gets into business needs to sit down and have a real, come to reality, talk with themselves. I do all this stuff, and if I lose everything, am I prepared for that? Because it's always a possibility. Some of it's not your fault. Back to COVID, lots of people went broke, and it was not their fault. It was just things happened. The smart ones have redundancy. They have alternative plans, but some cases, even those plans aren't going to make it. So you want to make sure you understand that no matter what it is, you put all this effort and everything into it, and something happens, how are you going to deal with that? So coming up with your long-term and short-term strategies in order to increase that return or minimize the risk and increase the return on your investment. Ideal thing. Entrepreneurial spread. Entrepreneurs desire really to see their ideas converted into reality. You've got to, whatever you do, you go, boy, if we had t-shirts that had my logo on it, that would be cool. It's an idea, you turn it into reality. Go out there and find a market for your designs, your t-shirts, your food, your services, whatever it is that you do or wish to create. You want to try something new and creative. That's an entrepreneurial spirit. You have a high tolerance for risk. Security is not a concern. I take offense to the security. Security is always a concern. You just have to acknowledge that this is a risky thing. Again, what you're doing here minimizes your risk by acknowledging the fact that you need really dig in and become a student of business will reduce that risk. But you got to be acknowledged as security and do what you can to be secure should everything goes wrong, particularly if you've got somebody that's depending on you, like kids or family. A strong belief in their own skills and capabilities. And if you don't have that skill, go get it. You know, if you're lacking in some of the capabilities or some of the operational needs of a business, you've got the ability to go out there and get good at them. This is most entrepreneurs are great idea I come up with ideas all the time, and I've got post-it notes all over my house. Just say no. Do not start any new companies. Because I damn near started a pickleball business not too long ago. I had to stop doing that. They're idea generators. A lot of people aren't really good operators. They're really difficult, and they know by experience that they're not good crossing T's and dotting I's. If that's the case, maybe it's time to find a partner who is a good operator. Developing an exit strategy. This is a really important part of your business plan. And I think it's really valuable, even at day one, understanding and knowing what it is you're trying to do here. If you start a business and you want to build it up and sell it for 5 years, you want to build it up and franchise it, you want to build it up and expand it to 4 different locations, you want to go national, you want to go international, you want to take it public, you want to bring in investors, you want to merge it. All of these are exit strategies, and each one of them may be you'd have advantage of structuring whatever is your due based on your legal structure, your foundational structure, how you build your company to mold with your exit strategy. I think we mentioned that earlier. If you want to pass it on to your kids, there are things you can do on the startup phase to make that transition easier. If you want to go public, there are things you can do foundationally in terms of C Corp, S Corp that will accommodate that. But understanding what it is you want to do, where and when you want to do it. You got a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. Understanding at each one of those waypoints, what is it you want to do? And this is always good to have a plan B if things don't work out. I've said this at every one of my things, and I've always thought it 50 years, if everything goes to hell, I'd be the best darn used car salesman you've ever seen. I've never had to do it, and that's not minimizing anybody out here who's selling used cars, because that's a tough job. But if you have a plan B, you know that, hey, if everything don't work out, I can go back to doing this. I can go get another job. My old employer will take me back. What can happen there is, from a mental perspective, you as an independent business owner will have to make a lot of decisions. Many of those decisions you're making based on your gut, because you just don't have time to gather all the data. You just have to pivot. Making that decision and doing things with your gut are so much easier if you aren't worried about, oh my God, what if this is the one that puts me out of business? You always got a plan B. You've got comfort knowing that if things don't work out, you're not out in the street. You've got another plan. So this is more just the mental thing that entrepreneurs can do, is make sure you have a plan B, because it just makes making decisions without a lot of information much easier. So a question, this is just something to ask yourself, and this is no time to lie to yourself. This is a good time to be really honest with yourself. because nobody's watching and you're not going to fill it out and no one's going to check, go out and score this thing and give an A, B, C, or D or F. Do you feel your motivation is strong enough to proceed with the hard work involved in launching a business? Now, you will get this entire PowerPoint will show up here shortly, in the next couple of days. It'll be mailed out to you. Um, so you'll have access to this. And also this particular frame here is also an attachment on the thing, and I will show you that at the end of this thing. But it's all in black and white, so you could print it off and actually do this stuff yourself. But an entrepreneur self-evaluation and figuring out where you fall in these categories. If you put a 1 down, that's definitely a concern. So if number 1, work ethic, you know yourself, you're really honest with yourself, and you know your work ethic sucks, and you put a 1 there. That's honest, but you can say, I'm going to improve. I'm going to start to focus on being more organized, more involved, more engaged. So you can prove that thing. Now, if you put a 5 down, you may just be, they say, worrisome because you just may be kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself. So if you put this thing, this kind of identifies this thing. This is not a test, but it's kind of like identifying where you are, where your strengths are, and where you need experience. Experience in the field or in education. If you don't have a lot of experience in wherever you're planning to go, time to go get it. I got a client who refurbishes old travel trailers. And he wants to do a resort. Thinks a cool idea in the Airbnb, verbal them out. Great idea. Has no experience whatsoever in the hospitality trades. So he went out, talked to a campground owner, got himself a 3-month deal as an apprentice at minimum wage. Spent 3 months, and this guy showed him how to run a resort. And now he's not looking for land to put this thing up, which is kind of tough around here. But that's an option for you. If you don't have the experience or the education, dig into it and get it. Are your organization skills good? Do you really need to be fairly organized when you do this kind of stuff? Your time management skills, decision making. You'll make decisions without all the facts. Are you able to learn from your mistakes? This is something I've seen over the years where people make something happens and they're conditioned to point fingers, find somebody else to blame for something. Honestly, if putting something down here where you're capable of acknowledging you screwed up, learn from it, pivot, go do something else. Don't sit and dwell on it, and don't try to find excuses or blame. The ability to understand that you made a mistake, acknowledge you made a mistake, put it behind you, learn from it, and go forward. I was trying to find someone to push it off on. You need to be persistent. You got to get these things up and running. You got to stay after them. They don't take off on their own as a rule. Support system. You really want to have, if you've got a family, you really want to, and family and friends, you really want them to be behind it, because during the pitfalls, if things aren't going as well, things can be really tight, and you want to make sure everybody knows what's going on and what you're in for. So if things get a little tight, everybody's still behind you, and you start creating conflicts within your family. Your risk tolerance. Risk is just uncertainty. It's not good or bad. Everything we do maintains some kind of a risk. Every morning you get out of bed, just getting out of bed can be risky. So it's not good or bad. It's just risk. You just got to acknowledge the fact that it's out there. Generally, the greater the risk, the greater the necessary reward. And by that, the intent there is, the more risky you get. And a good illustration of that is like if you're going to develop an app for your phone. Those things are really expensive. I was working with one gentleman who wanted to create one for the music business, and we were looking at $500,000. We've got another client who's developing an app right now for family management and how to run a family, how to program everything with families and kids and who does what, when they do it. She's got a little over 200 grand into that thing so far. If this takes off, she will have her own island and a yacht, and her and Bezos will be racing yachts back and forth from Hawaii. But there's a lot of risk. It may not go, and she could lose everything. So, greater the risk, greater the necessary reward. Each business risk has three components. It's the magnitude, how much can you lose, which obviously you could lose everything. The probability, how likely is that to happen? And you can minimize probability again by acknowledging the fact that you don't know everything, and you are open to go out there and become a student of business and just start soaking up everything you can and learning everything, read everything, watch everything you can, minimizing the probability and exposure. How can you insure yourself against the loss? And I think the best way to do that is really going through the steps necessary that traditionally are done in building a business plan, gathering the data, doing the footwork, understanding what you're doing, doing the financial projections, doing the 5-year projections, understanding what you do, who your customers are, really getting involved in how this business is going to work, this business that you're creating is going to operate. So there are a couple more questions just for you to dwell on. Answer for yourself. Do you have to score high in every category to start a business? And that's no. If you actually come and says, I just don't dot I's and I don't cross T's. I'm just not that good. I can fly above the trees. I've always got a 10,000 foot view of everything, and I can see the future. I can sell anything I get my hands on, but somebody's got to go do the accounting. Somebody's got to do the inventory. Someone's got to do receiving. Got to do shipping. We've got to do customer service. Got to handle the problems. Got to fire people. Build a team, with skills that'll manage to get those desired results. And then you can identify what ideas I need to work on. Once you identify them, then make a conscious decision to go out there and be better at those things. And often moving from low to neutral brings more benefit than moving from neutral to high. Because when people put a 1 down in that form, that's acknowledging, hey, I need work here. And that's acknowledging and being really honest with self. So in business planning basics, the ideal, every business is really structured around what customer pains can you relieve? What is your value proposition? And that's your product or service that relieve pains or provide gains to your customers can it create? How can you improve your customers' jobs or lives? So really knowing whatever it is that you're planning to do, will that make someone's life better? Will it eliminate a problem they have? Really understanding what that is and really being able to provide people what they want, not what you want them to have. If anything, I guess if there's anything you get out of this, that's kind of the mantra. The objective here is to provide people what they want to buy, not what you want to sell them. Way too many people get tied up with, hey, I've got this great idea, and if everybody buys one, their lives will be better. You think that way, customers may not think that way. So be actually proving, what do you have, and will it improve your customers' jobs or lives? You really want to know who your competition is, and can't dig into that one often enough. Really know who's out there doing what they're doing, and then coming up with what is your unique advantage. What differentiates you from people already doing this? You may find somebody's really good at doing what you're doing, but they're not servicing a particular market segment. There's a market segment of that have need for this thing that this particular what's already out there just doesn't integrate with, doesn't service well. Your unique advantage would be that you focus on a specific market segment and just do that better than anybody else. Your unique advantage could be pricing, it could be delivery, could be time to delivery, it could be follow-up, it could be there's all these different things that takes your product and makes it unique, or your service, and that becomes your unique advantage. Then how do you market your value proposition and market and the resources and activities required to create, market, and distribute the value proposition. And how can I build a model that incorporates all these elements? And this gets to the business model canvas. I think I mentioned this. This is that 3-hour workshop that I encourage everybody I work with, take this thing. There's a 1-hour video on it in our resource thing. I think the live version is just so much more intense, and it really digs into minutia that you just don't get out of the video. But at the very least, watch the video. And this is what it's about. Business model canvas takes all these elements of running a business and identifies and gets a deep dive into each one of them. We'll kind of touch on them, and you'll also get this this panel will also be included in black and white, so you could print it off and actually start writing stuff in there. So the two most important things in this thing is your value proposition. What is it that you have that will make somebody's life better? I get my in the boxing business, when I got into it, boxing rings had padding under them, and it was a rubberized horse pad. And if after a couple of months, the stuff would just flatten out. It was like, if you got knocked out in a boxing ring, it was like falling on a wood floor, no cushion whatsoever. So I this isn't good. So I contracted with some scientists, the people who built the seating for the Apollo capsules in Minneapolis. A fighter who gets knocked out is basically a dead body and it falls on the floor. So we took cadavers and dropped them on all kinds of foam, combination of foams to find the best lateral motion stability. So you're moving side to side, you didn't roll over your ankles, but you still had point deflection to minimize the impact. So we came up with a foam. So we solved a problem. Then I got in the aerobics business, and high impact aerobics, jump up and down. I taught aerobics when my instructors wouldn't show up. I'm not that good at it, but somebody had to do it. I can do grapevine left, knee up, hands, clap, jumping jack. I put my boxing floor under my aerobics stand, because back then we all had stages. And my members would get up on my stage and go, "What the hell? What's under this carpet here?" I said, "Well, it's a pad because my knees hurt." My members are all going, "Well, our knees hurt." I said, "Holy shit. Okay." Put it under the whole floor. I had aerobics instructors driving 50 miles to teach class in my health club in Loveland, Colorado. Well, this is cool. I sold $15,000, $20,000 aerobic floor systems. I actually solved a real pain. That's how these things evolve. You come across in your daily life, and someone goes, "God, if you could just do that this way, we could do it half the time, or it'd be so much easier." That's a business opportunity. That's your value proposition. And then you go to your customer segments. You could have a dozen customer segments. Right now, I build portable obstacle courses, and I'm specialized in youth exercise, youth fitness, and sports conditioning. I sell them to PE teachers. I sell them to parkour, ninja, and chase tag specialists. I sell them to adult programming, and I sell them to sports conditioning. 4 completely different market segments. You do not talk sports conditioning terminology to a PE teacher. PE teachers wants to know, how fun is it? The sports conditioning people don't care about just the general exercise that adults would do on it, nor do they care about parkour or chase tag. So each one of these segments I market to all 3 of them. All 4 have special segmented parts on my website, because the language in each one of those 4 markets is markedly different. So identify who you're going to sell it to. You can break your market segments down. I did just in categories like that. You can break them down: ethnic, revenue, location, geography, topography. You can get into all kinds of things to break that down, and you could identify and niche yourself into a space where you have authority and you have credibility. And when you talk to that potential customer, they go, "My God, that person understands me. They can feel my pain." Making that personal connection becomes really important these days. So resources, and we're going to get into a little piece of each one of these things in this next panel. So business critical questions you want to answer is how do you do it? What do you do? And who do you do it for? And then how much is it, how much does it cost you and how much you sell it, how much you make off of it? So really have a really good understanding of how you do what you're going to do, what you do, and then who you do it for. The what, the value proposition is like we were saying, this is, you know, um, how is it different? What is it bigger, smaller, faster delivery? Is it shipped overnight? Is it hand delivered? Is it pink? Is it blue? Is it gray? Does it last longer? Does it last shorter? Really understanding whatever your product service is it different? What's that differentiates you from everything else that's on the market? And how does that help somebody else? Who is the customer relationships? So once you get a customer, are you going to do a twofers, Friday afternoon specials, put them on an email list and offer them upsells? So how do you create a relationship with your customer? What kind of a channel are you going to do? Are you going to do this e-commerce? You're going to go from B2C, business to consumer, B2B, business to business. Are you going to go business to wholesale and then let them sell it to retail stores? Are you going to go just direct to your customers? This is a service that you will deliver all lawn care. So are you going to go or a cleaning service? So you have to go through the channel. How are you going to do this? Through web meetup groups, next door, emails, direct mails, campaigns. How are you going to get that? Are you going to go to farmers markets with your food? So these are the channels to get your product to your customer segments and back to your customer segments, breaking them thing down, and you can imagine you could get into religion, sexual preference. I've got 4 customers that have built businesses within their congregations just by getting with the pastor and saying, I do this. And people will want, if they get a choice, they will do business with the people who believe what they believe. That's unique versus, other type of the competition. So that's a possibility. Understanding who your customer segments are. How do you do it? Your key partners, your financing, your supplier, um, bankers, delivery services, warehouses, shipping, customer service, which maybe a lot of these things are outsourced. Your key activities, how are you going to get this thing to product? You're going to do farmers markets. You're going to do your marketing, advertising. You're going to go hire salespeople. You're going to do sales. Understanding all these activities and how you're going to do what you're going to do. What kind of resources are you going to need? Are you going to need brochures, literature, websites, email campaigns, all these things, understanding each one of the options that you have in these different areas that's going to enhance what it is that will and support your product or service. Then knowing how much. This is something that's amazing to me how many people really have a misunderstanding of what stuff costs. Understanding your cost structure, your cost of goods sold, including your freight, your loss, write-off inventory, return inventory. All these things are costs of goods sold. Freight in. Lots of people are having a really messable time. I was working at that live thing. I had 4 people that I was talking to. All are built businesses around imports. And this tariff thing is one of them is going out of business. It's going to put her out of business because her product now is 50% more expensive than it used to be. And it was kind of expensive to start with. So knowing what the costs are and then understanding that if that happens, can you build redundancy? Can you get a backup supplier? It's one of the things. She was relying on product from China. She's trying to transition to product from India, but I'm not sure. She's not sure she can be able to pull this off because it's a injection molded product in a caker. 3 to 4 months to get molding tools done. So, and then revenue streams. You could have revenue streams from multiple areas. In my obstacle course, I get revenue from actual sales of the courses, sales of education. Um, you got referral sales, so, working with affiliates who are introducing it. So you get all these different revenue streams and identifying them and then maximizing and monetizing each and every one of them. So this kind of gets a little bit of thing, key partners, your vendors, complementary business advisors, your partners, key activities. What must you do to create, deliver your value proposition, resources, of course, assets, buildings, employees, all the things that you need in order to accomplish what it is you do, your value proposition, dividing your products and service from customer perspective, pain resolved, gain realized, job or life improved, customer relationships, your referrals, repeat business, customer service, channels. How do your customers find out about you? How do you advertise to them? You just put up a website and hope people go to them. That's a tough thing to expect. How do you deliver what it is you have? Who's your customer, your demographic, your psychographics? Who is that ideal buyer or user? Cost of assets, people, activities, and partnerships, and cost structure, and primary and secondary revenue opportunities from customers and partners. Really digging in and understand all the different potentials that you have as you go through this process. So the reasons for doing this is, one, is to see if your idea will actually work, because many people will go through this thing and go, maybe this ain't, it sounds good in my head, but it's actually not going to go. I want people to have it. People don't want it. I've done that before too. So that's it. That's can be used as a basis for a business plan. And I really and strongly impress on everybody to do something along the line of business plan if you choose to go forward. I build a business plan for everything I've ever done. There's one of the things about taking all these ideas you have and putting them on paper, that's memorializing them. Typical entrepreneur, if you're like me, you've got 100 ideas or maybe 1,000 or a million ideas beating around in your head all the time. Write them down, look at it. And you go, well, that's a stupid idea. You can put a line through it. And if you're like me, then the idea's gone. You're just not thinking about it anymore. You can go focus on things that actually have potential. Or you can just say, okay, let's move that one to the bottom of the pile here and we'll get back to it. You take it out of the presence and you can focus on really what's important. So writing your business plan, going back and reviewing it every 3 months, pull it out, look at it, and you go, whoa, that worked really well. I had to double down on that. Or that didn't work at all. Or that needs to be modified in order to meet new information that I've gotten from my customers. Really valuable. Having these business plans also, if you choose to sell your company, you can pull that out and say, hey, here's where I started, and here's how I discovered what works. One thing then I kind of throw these isms out that I got. Somebody told me a long time ago, building a business is like a journey down a long hallway. Right now, you have your eyes on the last door at the end of the hallway. As you make this journey, stop and look behind every door. More often than not, and it's happened to me, that I ended up doing something I had no intention of doing. But on the journey, somebody heard, they said, Lee, well, if you tweak it and do this with it, I'd like to introduce that to all my customers. I did that with a video, walking, how to walk for exercise video. And somebody says, I talked to my friends over at Rockport. And I went over and talked to them. We did a deal. I financed and shot a video on how to walk for fitness with a race walking bonus, put their name on it. And I did that in exchange for them putting a coupon in all their shoe boxes. We sold 60,000 videos for $20 a piece out of their shoe boxes. And I gave them $5 a piece and I made $7 a piece. But I had no intention of doing that. People get blinded, and I've known people that would go, Lee, if you did this, we could go with Rockport. And they go, no, I'm not doing that. I'm headed for that last door. That's where I'm going. Be open to opportunities as they come around, because you may find an opportunity that just delivers itself to you. You latch onto it. All of a sudden, you're cash flowing. Now you can go do any damn thing you want because you've got a profitable business. So it's kind of like taking advantage of whatever opportunities come to you, and then you can head for that last door. Um, Visual and dynamic. This allows for pivots. You're doing your own business modeling. And so you visualize what you're doing. It allows for going, okay, this isn't a really good idea. This ain't going to work. Let's tweak it a little bit and go and then take it back out and trial. Allows you to evaluate new offers and changes. And it also helps you watch your competitors' models because this forces you to actually know what your competitors are doing. So once you have an idea that customers' needs and wants, do you have access to necessary resources? And that's typically the financial capital invest. The SBA came in and did a presentation to us on Monday. And we had our monthly meeting. The SBA came in. SBA has been cut in half. So half of all SBAs were fired here about a couple months ago. So it's really tight. Banks aren't loaning people because they don't know what's going on. There's a lot of confusion in the investment markets right now. So banks aren't really open to doing anything. So that leaves most entrepreneurs out there to do, come up with alternative and non-traditional financing. If you do have, if you do have, a $500,000 paid off home and you want a $100,000 loan, you could probably get a loan because now you've got the collateral to support it. That's and some people do have that. You got to manage your cost of living, family support. So you want to make sure you can still, feed your family and keep a roof over your head. So that's got to be factored into what do you need to actually pull this thing off. Where does outside capital sources? Friends and family. This 80% of all companies in America are started finance with friends and family. And it's a good way. I've done it. But if I've borrowed money from the family, I insist on writing a note with interest due. It's an interest bearing note. I have it notarized. I hand it to people. And it's a note. So there's risk involved in what happens if it doesn't get paid off. It can minimize any kind of the whole damage it's going to do to relationships by really treating it like a business transaction. Your current employment income, can that help it? Time constraints, bootstrapping a business is something a lot of people are going to do these days because of the lack of real capital is involved that's available today. Bootstrapping is just doing it on the weekends and in evenings to go out there and come up with your proof of concept. Do whatever you have to do in order to get your product or service to a basic level and then take it out and introduce it to people and see if they buy it. See if they're interested, see what they have to say. So that's bootstrapping. It's doing everything at the down low. Do it offsite, maintaining the current job if you got one, and just do it at as cheap as possible. And it can be done. If you need physical facilities, you got to address that because physical facilities in the Tennessee area and most areas, particularly in the metropolitan areas, are really quite expensive. If you need people, are the kind of people you need available to you? Can you afford them? Those are questions you have to answer, and that's all goes in your business plan. Do you have access to mentors? Sign up for a SCORE mentor, you get one for free. And then I'd go out, again, we were talking, search for other people around the country doing exactly the same you do and just ask them for help. Can't hurt. So the entrepreneurial planning process is the vision statement. That's your future. Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Really knowing what it is that you're attempting to do. Your mission statement is your present day focus. It's what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. 3 questions to have a really pat answer for and understand and be able to answer without thinking about those things. Make sure you know what you're doing, how you're going to do it, and why you're doing it. Your strategy is your overall method or plan to bring around the desired future. So, okay, well, this is your business plan. We're going to have to do the research, identify the data, determine market size, what's market, what's market resistance to the product, who's the competition. That's kind of up your method or your plan to bring around those goals. Tactical plans, and that's your detailed steps. Once you have the information moving forward, then getting the building, the financing, ordering the prototypes, creating the actual content of the service, developing the delivery systems. That's your detailed steps. Your feedback loop is the results of those steps reflected in financials, client feedback, management observations. So this is always back into really in the startup phases, everything you do, every time you talk to a customer, ask them how you did. Ask them what you could have done better. I've what can you do to separate yourself on a delivery? I use another example. It's at a during one of the last hailstorms. I hired somebody to come in and replace my roof. You know, it's an $18,000 roof, shingles. They came in, they did a decent job, and they just disappeared. Now, they could have come in and said, Lee, we appreciate your business. Thank you for the opportunity to do your roof. Here's a popsicle. We appreciate your business. Oh, well, thank you. 7 other of my neighbors all came over and said, hey, what do you think of that company? I said, I wouldn't hire them. Says they're just average people. What can you do to add experience and difference and something memorable to your connection with your customers? So it can and you can draw on your own experience when somebody does. You go to a business, they do something and says, you know, I put an extra punch of something in your coffee. We appreciate your business. Oh, well, thank you. That was so cool. That is what people remember. And that's when they tell their friends, yeah, I was over coffee and they gave me a little, an extra shot of, mocha or whatever the hell in it. And I didn't expect that. Or they, something, do something that make you stands out and then develops relationships with your customers. So other business considerations are: do you build a business, buy an existing business, or acquire a franchise? Is it a home-based or is it going to be an outside-based business? Is it a sole ownership or a partnership, or how are you going to create your legal structure? This we won't get too deep into this. This is another thing that in developing how you're going to do this, and this kind of the how what to look for in each one of these things. Like if you build your own business, there is no reputation. If you buy a business, for better or worse, you get the reputation of the business you bought. If you acquire a franchise, your reputation is going to become from the franchise. Customers, you'll have none if you do your own. If you buy a business, you need a non-compete from whoever you bought the business from, so they don't just open another one right next door to you and all their customers go to them. A lot of businesses are actually the people do business with the business because of the people who own it, not because it's a business. My dad was like this. He was I worked with him, and his had a sales force, and he sold football field equipment. I created the boxing side of the business. But his sales reps would tell me, he says, Lee, if your dad sold shit, everybody he knows would buy 10 buckets. Simply because of him. He had a massive personality. Was a Dale Carnegie instructor, remembered everybody, their parents, their kids, their dogs, and he could identify them from 50 yards behind him. Did he know what he sold? Really didn't care, because it wasn't they bought from him because of him. Damn tough to sell a business when the whole business is just the person. So identifying that and making sure that your brand is what's really out there, and that's what people understand. And you kind of like it, because if your personality overshadows it's tough for people to come in and replicate who you are. So you want to non-compete if you're buying a company from someone like that. Cash needed. So all these things kind of get you an understanding of what it's like, the differentiations between building your own business, buying a business, or acquiring a franchise. Is it a home-based or outside? That based on the nature of the business. So you can't do diesel mechanics in a cul-de-sac. What's your HOA allowing you to do? Or what are the restrictions? Because we got an awful lot. I'm home based. I've outsourced everything, manufacturing, warehousing, pick and pack, shipping, returns, everything is outsourced. So all basically I do is answer questions, take orders, and cash checks. Um, Great way to structure a business. What is your overhead? You can manage your overhead at home, or you're going to have to go out there. Do you need a building to do your business out of? So this is a great time. If all you need is office space, ideal time to look for office space, because an awful lot of companies have downsized or people have gone home and they've got a bunch of offices. They ain't got nothing, that nobody's sitting in. You could sublet offices today. I've done that in many cases, and it really works well for a month-to-month basis. Instead of signing a 3 to 5 year lease contract, do a month-to-month. Comes with desk and credentials and phone systems and everything included, and they give you a key, and you just pay generally a lot less than what you'd pay on a regular basis and get an office space. I've also done that with warehouses, sublet warehousing space if you need places to store things. It is your zoning restrictions. If you're going to need your own building, factor in the build out and the infrastructure, because if you have to reconfigure an existing space to meet your specific needs, is the landlord going to do the build out and add it back into the monthly lease, or are you going to have to come up with cash to pay that out? Prepared for lease commitments on startups. Most landlords will ask you for a personal guarantee, not a corporate guarantee, because you're a new company. You're ready to start a 3 to 5 year commitment, because if 1 year into this thing you decide you just don't like doing it or it didn't work, you still got 2 years of lease payments on. So make sure you're getting into a lease that has a sublease opportunity. So you could lease it to somebody so you're not on the hook for all the lease payments. Shared office space, like we were just talking about, is subleasing space. Work equipment and storage space, you can do the same thing. So in terms of your legal structure, you've got an opportunity, the choice of sole proprietor, a partnership, limited liability corporation, S corp, or C corp. In a lot of cases, I encourage people, if you have personal assets and you've got a accountant or bookkeeper or somebody helps you with your finances, really discuss it with them, because each one is different based on tax exposures and things like this. In many cases, you don't need to do this until you don't need to actually have a legal structure until you're actually ready to start selling stuff. So I've got a lot of people, they sign up, they become a client, and they're going to start a business, but they've already gone out and started a company. They don't have a product, they don't have any customers, they don't have a bank account, they don't have anything, but they have a corporation. That may be the cart before the horse. You don't need to do that, because starting your company is just going online to the state of Tennessee, filling out a form, giving them, I think, $50, and you have a company, a sole proprietor partnership, or an LLC, or an S corp. Any one of these, just choose them, and it's yours. Sole proprietor is all you need if whatever you're doing doesn't have any um, like product liability. Whatever you're doing, you're not exposed to any kind of liability issues. Insurance evidence, there's no harm done. There's people, we've worked with a lot of people who want to get into and do notary public. Not very little legal exposure to notary publics, because people can't get hurt you going out there and signing their documents. So you may not need a limited liability corporation for that. If there's two of you in the business, a regular partnership could work fine. Limited liability corporations were structured to provide the legal protection against lawsuits, so you can protect your personal assets. the structure. So if you're making a product, somebody get hurt through the product, you have an LLC, they can sue your LLC, but they can't get to your personal assets. Um, which is an ideal way to do that. LLCs, all the profits are provided and delivered to 1099 to you personally. So sole proprietors, partnerships, and LLCs, all the money just flows through to your personal returns. LLC does have to file its own tax return. If you're going to sell stock and bring in partners, then you got the S corp, because an S corp can issue stock, and that's typically, and these are small things. If you're financed by like an angel investor, they would probably ask for S corp so they could issue stocks and they have ownership. C corps are really, I had one of those in my life because I had every intent to hit the Wall Street and go public. They're much more complicated, cost a lot of money to do tax returns. They work perfectly if that's what your intent is, but that's the objective there. So this kind of gives you solar partnership, how these things are structured, how they're considered. And this is, again, this is for your personal use. We won't get into that at this point. So summary of some of the key factors that successful entrepreneurs have is the proper motivation. A match between the value proposition and their customer needs and wants. Access to funding, including the cash to make it beyond break even. This is something that another thing that a lot of people don't have. You think it's going to cost $10,000 to get this thing up and running. You've spent $10,000 and you're $5,000 short of actually launching the product or buying the inventory. So if you think it's going to take 10, go out and get 12 or 13 or 15. You don't have to actually take it, but make sure you have access to it if possible, because not everything comes in under budget. So that's something that's also in building out your financial projections and cash need and startup capital. All that stuff can work. Experience in the industry and education. If you don't have it, you can go find it and start learning it. Support system of your advisors and family. Make sure that they're behind you 100%. They understand what this journey is going to happen and how it will affect them. Time to devote to the business and a strong work ethic and the ability to make decisions in the absence of certainty. And if you are ready to proceed, request and meet with a SCORE mentor. Doesn't cost anything. Just click, I want a mentor. We will assign you, there's about 30 of us right now that are active in the Nashville chapter. We're all generalists, but many of us have specific skills. I'm one of 3 that's actually started a business. I'm the only one who started multiple businesses. So particularly in the fitness spa side. So most people that are in that category kind of get assigned to me. We've got a lot of people in HR that come out of corporations, but everybody in here are really high performing. Many of us are retired. I'm semi-retired, but most of them are retired. We've got a VP from Nissan out here doing volunteer work. We've got a marketing manager from Firestone Tire out here. He's volunteering, and these guys were international rock stars in their companies, and they're here to talk to people like us. Attend more workshops, start a business modeling, write a business plan, accounting basics and financial projections, then quantify and obtain the necessary capital. Implement your plan to launch your business. Monitor the business and pivot as needed. Or if no, and this is a absolutely reasonable objective and decision. If no, modify and defer your plans until you are ready. Because you don't want to jump into this thing hook, line, just dive in without being really prepared for it, because it's a big deal. And we all want you to succeed. If you choose to go, we want you to be successful in this. So thank you. Appreciate you attending this workshop. go through and see this. Like I say, you'll get this PowerPoint, and as you scroll through here, business entity comparison table. So it gives you really gets into sole proprietors, general partnerships, limited partnerships, formation, duration, liabilities, operational requirements, management. Really gets into every one of these different things. It's something a mentor can really help you with prior to actually going out and doing it. More business entity comparison tables, taxation, pass-through income, double taxations. Double taxation, when you get into C corps, you can get taxed double on your on revenue coming out of those. Here's that thing. You can print this off. You can actually print it off and start writing in it. You're up in your characteristic scale. Decision-making process gets in just more detail and vision statements, mission statements, strategies. Principles of business creation. So this is all just gets business process collection of linked tasks that find their end and delivery service or product to the client. It actually goes into definitions. And that's our story. So I see a couple of chats. Let me get into that. Okay, good information. Got a long off. You won't get a video. You will get the PowerPoint. We didn't record the video on this thing. Thank you. Okay, great information. Anybody got any questions for me? Comments? Just unmute and speak up. I think also when you get the email with this thing, there will be a evaluation form, and if you'd be so kind as to fill that out, that would be helpful. It's one of the things that as they kind of rank the chapters as we go through this. And if we rank really good, we may get a couple $100 extra bucks, which we buy a couple of lunches with. So, right. But that's all depending on people responding to these things. So if you get one of those, we'd appreciate it if you fill out the evaluation. Be honest with that too. And thank you for the 5 stars there. Angelica, is there a particular reason you're looking for something specific, or just to make a connection? If it is, anyway, it could just, it's, let's see, let me see if I can remember. It's that Spieker at score. Org. Scorevolunteer.org. There's email.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Savannah.
Awesome. My microphone wasn't working earlier.
Oh, okay.
So I put it in the chat, but I'll just ask here, if I'm looking to start a painting business, like murals in commercial spaces, would you recommend getting an LLC before I start working?
If what you're going to do, and this may, because if you go out and work in public domain, like you set up a ladder and you drop a paint bucket on someone's head, you have liability.
Okay.
And if you have assets, so some people we're working with have no assets, so you could sue all day long and you aren't going to get anything. The LLC just costs a couple extra bucks because you'll have to find LLCs have to file a separate tax return. And then the LLC, all the money will then be reported on your personal tax return. So it's a little more expensive. Now, the other thing is when you get into the LLC, and if you've got any kind of liability exposure, you want to be able to contact and talk to insurance companies. It's amazing how many people wait till the end to go out and talk to insurance people to find out what it's going to cost for insurance. My little deal, I pay $10,000 a year for insurance. And I've been doing this for 22 years. I've got 3,000 of these obstacle courses all over the world. Nobody's ever been hurt. Still costs me 10 grand a year to get $2 million worth of liability and $1 million worth of umbrella coverage. I'm fortunate enough, I do have some assets, and if somebody did get hurt on them, if through my negligence, but my product just doesn't break, so the chance is not happening, but I still pay it because you never know.
Yeah.
That's it. So that kind of thing, you would be out in the public, you could, your ladder falls off your truck. That's a liability issue.
Yeah, I
So
mean, especially because like I have a few projects lined up for distant-ish future that involve volunteers as well. So I'll jump on that.
you would have that conversation with your insurance people to make sure that your policy is going to cover employees. And
Mhm.
because if your employee is negligent, it still comes back on you. And you really do not want to get caught up in any kind of a American legal system may be the best in the world. Yeah. But it's a nasty place to go because it doesn't always the righteous and the right don't always win. In a lot of cases, it's just who has the most money wins. So it's paying attention to that part of your business and making sure that whatever you intend to do, and you tell your agent every possible circumstance, every possible risk, so it's written into the coverage. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
All right. Also, I have to hop off now, but thank you very much.
Oh, well,
Great.
appreciate you coming in and paying and listening. Okay.
Mhm. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hey Lee, I've got a question on kind of what's your, I don't know, I guess thought or opinion on kind of that, plan and canvas that you laid out and how that works and how you integrate that with kind of buying a business. I understand, the valuation piece and those other aspects. Is it kind of just a modification of that to kind of consider those pieces of when you're kind of taking over a business? Like I know you mentioned, a lot of customers are there for that specific owner. But if they're not, how do you make sure you still capture everything?
That's one of the things. If you're going to acquire an existing business, it's still being able to fill that out with the existing owner, and that can kind of identify, does this owner have they taken advantage of all the opportunities they have? Because you sit there and get into, I would say, well, how's your customer relations? They said, what do you mean customer relations? Go, oh, okay, well, there's your customers have not been, what do you do to maintain a connection? Do you have an email list? Do you do insider sales to past customers? Just about all of us have bought something and they send us stuff.
Mhm.
And that kind of thing. Do they really know who it is that they're selling it to? And they may be a little short-sighted. They go, okay, you're only selling to these people, this little niche here. And you may go, God, I have connections in this whole other niche. So I can actually take that one and build on it. So it kind of can help you, develop a valuation for what it is that you're doing. And then you get a good idea of what has been done in the past. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know that does sort of kind of a little bit of a deeper dive, and then to be able to, yeah, see where their mindset was to figure out those kind of opportunities
Seeing
in
what
the
they've been
future.
doing, and you can go, oh, geez, I could really improve on sourcing. Really, do they really know what it costs You know, not there's something about when people show you financial statements. There's an old saying years ago, people kept saying that a good business person will keep three sets of financial statements, one for the government, one for the bank, and one for themselves.
Hmm.
Which one are they showing you? Because it's another thing. Small businesses, it depends if this is a small business, a single ownership or something like that. They may be running a whole lot of personal stuff through the business that you aren't going to do. Can kind of skew the numbers, or they may be undervaluing different assets, or overvaluing them and expecting you to pay for them. So I
Right,
think
right.
there's some that kind of it can uncover things. So I think it's just a good exercise to go through. And
Yeah.
if you've run an existing or a business like that, it can also help clarify, okay, well, I get this thing, this is where I'm going to go with it, or this is how I improve on it, or these are elements of the business that I've just got to shore up. So I think there's value in it.
Okay. I've actually got two more questions, but I don't want to, if someone else has a question, I'll let them ask.
Anybody else want to jump in? You're up, Michael.
Oh. So, in your own experience, have you, when you've kind of moved into these other businesses, have there been some where you haven't had, that full 5 out of 5 experience, but you still said, I'm going to do this anyway? And how did you do you overcome that? Like you mentioned, asking people in other locations that aren't going to be direct competitors what their insights are. But did you go out and like find someone, or did you just power through it yourself?
I've done a little both, and I've found a lot more success in really getting third and fourth party input, because I have and it's maybe it's a dysfunction. When I see something, I know it's going to work. I just know, and somebody needs to talk me off the ledge. This goes back into this therapy zone company in 1999. I spent $400,000, build a website to disintermediate the distribution of physical therapy products. And this all came about through I was contracted by Health South to design an entire line of Health South, the big physical therapy company, and I created a product line for them that was sold and distributed through all their 1,000 offices. But then I found out that physical therapists are really horrible, horrible retailers. They don't inventory, they don't do any of that stuff. So I'm going, well, here, what if I put up a website? And that's in the early days. This was dial-up. This is AOL stuff in those days. What if I put up a website and just say, hey, send them to me, I'll take care of them. And it worked. I had United Blue Cross Blue Shield of America was sending all their patients to me to get their non-reimbursed durable medical product for physical therapy rehab. I had over 2,000 physical therapists that were sending me all their customers because they said, hey, go to these guys. They'll give you a 20% discount and they'll ship it to you, because you couldn't buy physical therapy products. And I built in an affiliate portion to this thing. So if people sent me patients and business, I'd carve off a little piece of it and store it away for them, and they could use that as affiliate fees to buy supplies for their business, their office. Well, the site started to crash because the technology just wasn't sophisticated enough to do this. And the people building it weren't very reputable, as I found out. I moved from Colorado. The state of Colorado took a 10% equity in my company. And the only other company that did was eBags, which is still in business today. And they were all ex-Samsonite executives. So we were the two companies that Colorado took an equity in, and they got behind us, and everything was going great until the site came apart. But I was too damn stubborn to recognize that all of these these therapists wanted was a convenient way for their patients to get stuff. And I insisted that they became partners of mine. And son of a bitch. And I didn't need to do that. And it took me 10 years later, it occurred to me, and I had $5,000 a month advisors, and they didn't even know what they were doing. I had a Fortune 5 lawyer. I brought in the top guy with Medtronic, and that's like $5 billion division. And he was acting president, and none of them knew. None of it was all new. Nobody knows what was going on. So I remember that I deleted the damn thing because the whole thing started to unravel. And if I just said, okay, well, let's just sell stuff to people, give them what they want, not what I want them to have. It'd be me and Jeff and Mark cruising around in our yachts these days. Just didn't happen.
Yeah. And then, well, you just mentioned a lawyer, so that kind of will move into the second question that I had, which is a little bit around, I guess, combination of starting your own business as well as buying a business. And in terms of, I probably more important for acquiring a business is having that attorney that can review paperwork and things that are needed. Is that you mentioned, right? You start your LLC or your S corp, right when you're about to start things. But if that stuff has already existed and you need someone to review things, I guess that's sort of the first step, especially when kind of there's NDAs involved and other things. Is that something, I guess, that SCORE can help
That is not
direct it to the right people?
That is not something that when you get into legal to that level of detail, that is not something. None of us are. We have two lawyers that we could send questions to, as it's called SMEs. They don't do. They're both good business lawyers. So if you've got a mentor, we can put you in touch with them because they are civic minded and they're knowledgeable business people. Because you need a contract lawyer. You're going to buy a business, you definitely want to get, the acquisition, how the assets are going to be transferred, if there's any terms involved, the non-competes, to really uncover, make sure that there's no liens against this thing. They can do the searches just to make sure when you get it, there are no surprises. And if there is a surprise, what are the remedies? And that's legal work. Yeah. So anytime I've ever bought anything, invested in anything, or sold anything, it's my lawyers. I'm looking at selling my existing company, and I've already got, I've chatted with the lawyers. If I get a buyer, or I've actually got an opportunity just to lease and owner finance the thing. I'm in the kids fitness business. Unfortunately, 20 years ago, the federal government quit funding physical education in American schools, and has never funded it. There's no funding in school PE anymore, so it's not actually a business. So I'm going to have to owner finance it, and I've got a lawyer to create that lease purchase agreement and structure remedies, obligations. All the details have to be written into this stuff. So yeah, you're buying a business, strongly recommend get a good business lawyer who's experienced in writing contracts and company acquisitions.
Right. Just from what I've seen and kind of heard from other people is, sure, if you go directly to a business, you're buying from them and they're willing to work out a deal, you're both still going to have your own lawyers. But then sometimes you need that a step ahead for when you're moving towards like a brokerage or a business broker, because they kind of have their agreements set ahead of time and you want to make sure you don't get caught involved in anything in that. At least that's kind of what I've heard is, getting that business lawyer first before settling in on some of those things.
Oh yes, Yeah, and then going over the deal terms.
Mhm.
If you have a term sheet or a deal sheet, or a proposal, and go in and say, okay, well, you're gonna clean this thing up, or make sure you go get that information, pre-qualify this. All these different things you would want to have necessary, because they'll uncover things that may not be in your deal sheet or that have been discussed that you'll want to clarify. Or if their lawyer is drawing up the paperwork, then you have your lawyer look at it and start going back and forth. It's definitely it's not the most pleasant part of doing this stuff. And a lot of people will skip over this hard work, but in the long term, I've seen business acquisitions and sales, little stuff crop up a year later. You go, what the hell is that? That should have been covered a long time ago or dealt with. So it really pays. It's a good investment if you're buying something. And then that lawyer can also say, hey, you need to do this in a sub S, particularly if you're talking brokers and you're looking to get this thing and then go sell stock or issue certificates. And then you really need somebody to structure that thing to come up with your corporate papers and to have all that stuff really, really tight.
Okay, cool.
That help?
Well, I appreciate that. And, it does sound like, at least from what you mentioned with the SBA and the loans, might be a little bit more difficult to acquire a business versus previously.
Yeah, and it's sad. They were saying that the SBA, they cut half of all their staff for the whole. There's 3 people managing the entire state of Tennessee now, and they're really good at doing financing buildings and equipment. SBA doesn't typically finance new starts. They don't finance operations. So they're in the initial stages, they're really good at doing build. And then there's a couple of other small business, non-banking lending solutions. And there's one that came to our meeting last night. I can't think of her name right now, but we have that in our resource stuff. That there are people who do this. There's another one called Pathway Lending, which is it's finance. It's a lending organization in Tennessee, funded by Tennessee to fund and underwrite small business in Tennessee. So they're a non-banking solution. And that's their role, is to go out and help small businesses get funded. They're picky as hell, but as all financing today, the whole financial space is sitting around going, what the hell? Let's settle down and we know where we're going, and then we can start going forward again. But that's just not where we're at right now.
Right. Well, I appreciate it. And I do need to, I think, sign up then for the membership, mentorship.
Okay. Yeah. It's worthwhile. It definitely is. Okay. Anybody else? If that covers it, we will sign off for the evening. I appreciate again. Thank you for joining us this evening, and I wish you the best. Until next time.